Chapter 2, Our Imagination, Aspiration without inspiration equals frustration. In the introductory chapter, we talked about some of the negative forces and how to remove them with a positive thought. In this chapter we go more in depth and see how our minds operate from the potency of the universe. Imagination is the act or power of forming mental images of what is not actually present. It is also the act or power of creating mental images of what has never been experienced. Now let us see how thoughts are formulated in the mind. Through an image-making power, thoughts are created. Words are our mental currency founded upon the gold standard of the intangible intent, just as US dollars are founded upon the gold reserves in FT Knox. Words are uniquely powerful, they can build, they can destroy, with equal facility. Keeping this in mind, to build a success attitude, we must use positive language. Usage of positive language is always followed by positive action. One is the wash cycle, the other is the rinse cycle. Until we commence to live from the premise of love, there can be no promise of success, for we have secreted the bud of our unique goodness, from the life-giving rays of the sun of simple common sense and kindness. Just as we have used our thinking faculties to accomplish the things which we have, we are going to use them more effectively to achieve the satisfactions of our heart's desire. Visualize yourself being the person you want to be. See yourself doing the things you like to do, having what you like to have. All for the price of a thought. When a carpenter desires to build a house, he doesn't simply purchase materials and build the house overnight. First comes the desire, next the motivation, and then he takes his first manifest step and goes seeking an architect to draw up the blueprint. The earth is landscaped to be sure of a solid foundation, and step by step he works his plan until his house is finished. After the house is completed, he rejoices from his work's reward, the satisfaction of seeing his dream come true. His desire was to create. He submitted to the law by doing his work, and his desire was turned into its physical equivalence. This carpenter was a positive thinker. He had faith in the law of attraction and knew through planning and working his desires would be fulfilled. How many times have you had an idea to do something, then allowed a negative thought to creep into your mind and extinguish the spark of your heart's desire? When we are conscious of our thoughts, and the words we use to express them, this adds to our strength to carry them through. So after using our imagination, we must observe our thoughts to determine if they are negative or positive. When negative thoughts invade the mind, do not act, push them aside with a positive drive, then put the positive thought into action. Negative imagination brings frustration. There were two sellers of fish who had converted themselves into two positive thinking dynamos. With an enthusiastic exuberance, they went about the city selling their fresh fish. As they were driving through a residential area, one of them spied a middle-aged man sitting on the porch. The driver stopped in front of the house and called out, "Would you like to buy some nice fresh fish today?" The man on the porch acknowledged the salesman with a dry look, and then turned and called to someone inside the house. "Bring yourself out here," he commanded in a tone so rude and demeaning that it could easily offset any person's nerves, especially if he or she had little control over their emotions. After a moment, a woman came to the door wearing a terrible frown on her face. The man pointed in the direction of the salesman, indicating that they had something that she might be interested in buying. One salesman spoke out, but before he could finish extolling the goodness of his wares, she interrupted with a rudeness equal to that which had summoned her to the porch. "I'm not interested in buying anything," she retorted, with the frown deepening on her face as she turned abruptly and stormed back into the house. Both salesmen smiled, and with a sincere response, one at "Ded, thank you mom, have a nice day." From all indications, they were husband and wife. The husband had allowed some of his imaginary thoughts of a negative nature to frustrate him. So like a dump truck dumping its load, he released his frustrations upon his wife, through the choice and tone of his spoken words. By not being able to control her thoughts and emotions, she, in turn, allowed him to pull her into his negative plane, causing her to act in the same negative manner and unload her disappointments upon the innocent salesman. Quite a few of us are like this husband and wife. Being of this nature, we allow a circumstance to influence our attitude in a negative direction. How many of us are like the salesman, who did not permit the attitudes of the husband and wife to penetrate their positive plane? We should strive to be like our two salesmen, and not let negativity sway us from the path of successful thinking, no matter what the outward appearances may be. Know that they are appearances, illusions, and nothing more. Getting off on the right start. Instead of allowing the less pleasant phases of life to manifest intensity within, imagine finding good in all situations. Then we will not rob ourselves of the inner peace and spiritual joy which life has to offer us, for the price of a positive thought. Stop. Ask yourself, what can I gain from being frustrated? Pondering this question should show us that being dissatisfied with a particular person, place, or thing, and worrying about or causing another to worry because of it, fails to alter the condition. If anything, it makes matters worse, because when one becomes irritated and loses control of his emotions, he has added another problem to the already existent confusion. This is to say, let's look both ways as we cross the streets of life. Let's find a little peace and love in living together in this ocean of life, and turn the madness into gladness. It is very easy to say we want peace of mind, security, and happiness. It is easy to say that we are not going to let the trying times bind us in our thinking. The challenge is, are we willing to give of ourselves in a manner that bring us within the gates of this peace we crave, or will we allow ourselves to remain adrift in the murky realms of our lower nature? We must discipline ourselves and know that balanced emotions are the motivating forces behind our newfound positive drive.